Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and I have an unboxing to share with you today. This is by Ayatz, and you can find all the information about this product in the description box below. I already have this, but this is their latest addition to the lineup and I'm really excited about it. So this is a nice little card that, oh, it's so pretty, that I will open separately. I apologize. I got a little distracted there. Took a peek into that card. So this is a Qur'an, but it's a very special kind of Qur'an that I'm really excited to share with you. But first, let's go ahead and see what additional things come with this. I want to say that I was gifted this, and this is my second time having one of these products. I got this last year, especially during the month of Ramadan. I used it extensively. And if you check the description box below, you can find a playlist of all of the videos for my Qur'an journaling in which I use this Qur'an. So it comes with this really beautiful bag, and it has embroidery on the front that says Iqra and read in English, and zipper pouch. This is great. So it's going to fit this Qur'an as well as the other ones that they have. So this is now the complete Qur'an and the journal, versus in the past you could buy basically 10 to make up the entire Qur'an, because each Qur'an notebook had 3 juz in it. So I'm going to actually share with you what this looks like. But there's one more thing in the box that I am super excited about. My sister told me about this and I cannot wait. I think I'm just going to order like a bunch of these to go in all of the Qur'ans that I have. And so on the inside of the box, it says plan for this life and the hereafter. That is really a beautiful sentiment to add on the inside of the box. So I'm going to share with you. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is a great idea. I think this is for the outer cover. I'm assuming it's for the outer cover of the Quran. So these are Surah tabs, and I love this idea, so that when you're going through your Quran and you need to just quickly jump to the surah that you're looking for, you can use these tabs in order to mark the outside of the pages. That way you can quickly get to whatever surah you're working on. And so these ones are oh great, there's even some extra. That's brilliant, because there are some surahs that you're maybe going to often, like Surah Kahf, for instance. Like I would want that marked in like every Quran that I have, because that's one that you would potentially easily need to get to on Fridays, for instance. And so that's really great that there are extra ones. So let me just take one off here so I can show you. So it's sticky, and the way that these tabs work is that you would put them on the outside, or on the inside, but on the corner, the edges of your Quran. That way you can easily flip to those, to that surah. So you will have to do this in advance. And I'm wondering too, it's just a thought, if I guess you wouldn't want to put it on the bottom, but I wonder if you could actually put a few on the top as well, if it gets a little bit crowded on the side with some of the last juz of the Quran. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this so that I can show you the inside, because if you haven't seen the Qur'an Notebook before, I think you're going to be very excited about this. And you know, now I can't tell whether I like it all as one or I like the smaller books themselves. Okay, so take a look at this. This is the entire Qur'an Notebook, and it has the Arabic Qur'an on one side, and then on the adjoining page you have the English translation, and this is the best part, you have a space to do all of your notes. Now in the past I realized that the space wasn't enough for me. However, I taped in extra pages, but then there were other passages where this amount of space was just perfect. So it really depends on how much tafsir and notes you're doing for the particular ayah or surah that you're working on. And I found that in some cases, this it was so not enough that I was like pasting in like 2 or 3 pieces of paper and they would just unfold like a book. And that way I could write all of my notes down. And I love having it in one place. I tend to be a person that writes in her books often. All of my books that I read that are nonfiction have notes in them, and in the very least just have the date that I've read those passages. I can't say every single book is like that, but many books are like that, where I will write my own notes, reflections, questions in the margins. And I love doing that so that when I revisit that book in the future, I can look at my notes. Or if I pass that book along to someone else can read my notes. Or if I've gotten books that other people have written in, what a treasure that is. So this Qur'an notebook has all of this space for you to write, not just in the margins, but a whole more than half sheet of paper where you can write your notes about the whatever surah ayah that you're studying. And I tend to like to look at a couple different tafsirs in order to get the notes that I want to, or just my reflections, or just what I'm processing about the passages that I'm learning about. And in some cases, I'm adding my additional perspectives or thoughts. And this is separate from the tradition of actually doing tafsir. So this would just be my own reflections, or maybe examples, or maybe thoughts that I have. And so I love having a space, because otherwise, when it comes to the Quran, first of all, there wouldn't be enough space in the margins to write notes. And secondly, you may be apprehensive about writing in a Quran. And this allows you to have the space that's very dedicated to your notes, which is very separate from the Quran. And then, of course, what I love is that there is an English translation. So if you're an English speaker, or even if you're Arabic speaker but still rely on the English translation, there's a translation here. And I want to also say that for this translation, each Quranic English translation is going to be unique. And so in general, I might have 1 or 2 or even 3 different translations, and each one will have just a subtle difference. And so if you're just relying on one translation, I would say maybe explore some other translations as well. And then the last thing is that I have another Quran that also has an English translation, but also has the word for word Quran, or the word for word translation within the Quran. And for that, I love that one as well. And so when I was working on my Qur'an notebook in the past, sometimes, but not always, I would add the English translation right above the word, the Arabic word in the Quran. That sometimes is helpful, sometimes it's not, but I just want to put it out there as one of the other things that on how I use my Qur'an notebook. And then the last thing is that when you are looking at a translation, it may give you a translation in general, or maybe a translation of the meaning, but I encourage you to dive deeper into, if you can, when you're looking at the tafsir, is sometimes a specific the Arabic language itself is very rich, and a specific word has its own etymology, and it's very interesting to explore that as you are studying the Quran. So if you get an opportunity, I highly recommend that you do that. Okay, so this one, I have to say that I haven't used, of course, I haven't used this one because it's brand new. And now I'm really curious to which one I'm going to like better. What's nice about this, I think this is great for at home because it is quite heavy. I think this is a great notebook to have at home, Quranic notebook to have at home, because of it being heavy. I think this is great to have all of your notes in one place. I think the smaller ones are fabulous if you want to take it on the go. I had to run and get 2 of the smaller notebooks just so that you can get a comparison in size. I think that we own 4 or 5, I think 5 of the notebooks. We have Juz 1 through 3. This is the one that I'm working on right now. I haven't written anything in it yet, but this is the one that I am going to be working on currently. And this is the one that I've worked on in the past. And you can see how I had to add some extra sheets of paper. In some cases, a lot of paper in here. Sometimes when you're exploring like specifically an Arabic word that's in the ayah, you might need a little bit more explanation for that. And then, let's see, there's probably a few more pages in here. I want to show you an example of where there was enough space. So this one, I had a lot to say on it. This one, a little bit, less. This one still needed extra. Still needed extra here. Needed extra here. Okay, I take it back. I thought there was at least a few pages here where I did not need extra inserts, but it appears that I needed inserts all the way through. Oh, and I forgot the really beautiful bookmark that we got when we first got the Qur'an Notebook. Just stunning bookmark. Really love it a lot. So the smaller one, very lightweight, very easy to work with. Again, what I would recommend, and you can see that it doesn't, so far it's not increasing the volume of the book too much, but I imagine that if you were doing lots of pages, you might end up with a book that got really bulky. The other thing that I would recommend, depending on where you are when you're doing your Quran journaling, what I did was I cut a few extra sheets of paper so that when I was in the flow and really writing things down, I would just have extra paper that was within my notebook so I could just grab that as I'm writing. And another really beautiful bookmark. They're very similar, but they are different. And they are on the acetate sheets. The other thing that I really like, oh, and here's an example of when I would add the English translation right over the Arabic, which was helpful a little bit, but then I did not do that often. I found that it ended up making it harder for me to read if there were other words on the page versus the word for word Quran that has a little bit more space in order to have that translation. But the other thing that I really love about this Quran notebook is that the script is large and easy to read. I don't like ones that are too small or too decorative. I want really simple font when it comes to reading Arabic, and this one is perfect. I really love the size. It's just right. Okay, and then one more look at the large, full Quran notebook. So beautiful, just really well done. And when you're buying the smaller ones, and I apologize because I cannot remember if they are also in paperback. I prefer the hardback, but you can see that if you're getting the entire set, that's just 3 juz at a time. So each of the individual notebooks, if you're going to get all 10 of them, they are going to be a lot bigger than this size, which has everything in one, just because you're including so many more hardback pieces to the entire Quran notebook. So that is something else to consider. If you're buying this whole set, it's going to end up being quite large. And if you're just buying the one, you're going to have all of your notes in one place. What an exciting endeavor to go through this with fresh pages. The entire this would be just such a beautiful gift as well, and wonderful for anyone who's looking to do, say, like a monthly or a weekly Quran meetup where you are doing your own research and your own work, and you're coming to class with your Quran notebook to share your notes that are included inside. I think that would be so brilliant. And the way that I used mine primarily is that I was doing a lot of Quran journaling last Ramadan, and in that, oh gosh, I already forgot which one it was. Here it is. In that, I would put all of my notes into the Quran notebook so that when I got ready to do my Quran journaling, which included a lot of illustrations, a lot of my notes were already in my Quran notebook. And I found that I was able to write actually more thoughts and more reflections and more tafsir in my Quran notebook than what actually made it in my Quran journal. My Quran journal was an abridged, kind of solidified, concise collection of my thoughts and my notes in my Quran journal. So I included illustration and either the Arabic or the translation, and then my notes. And so I find that working with each has its unique qualities. And so working within this Quran notebook allows me to have the entire Quran in Arabic and in English and all of my notes. And if I really wanted to, which I think is probably maybe the direction that I'm going to go in for my Surah Baqarah journaling is to add just a few little illustrations within this area rather than a full page illustration and my Quran. However, I do have to say this is that both methods, my Quran journaling and this method of Quran journaling in the Quran Notebook, both of them allowed space for reflection and for study, but doing an illustration and doing an artistic expression had a different, almost a meditative quality to it. And so both were really valuable for me, but each had a different process and a different outcome. But I have to say that my most favorite addition are the Quran tabs. I think this is such a great idea. It's going to be so easy to get to the surah that you need. And so I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time right now adding them in. Actually, let's do one together so that we can see what is going to be the best method. So let me go through. Let me start at the beginning. And also, let me think. I want to sort of have them staggered. But with Surah, Fatiha, and Baqarah, I can have them staggered quite a bit because at the beginning of the Quran, there's going to be quite a few pages before we get to surahs that are coming very quickly, and we will need to space them out a little bit differently. Okay, here we go. Okay. Just going to lightly bend it, but not press it together. And then I'm going to turn my Quran sideways. And then I'm trying to think how far out I want it to go. And I think that I want it to go so that the edge of the page just comes up to this portion right here. And now the challenging part will be to make sure that you get it as even as possible and make sure it's only one sheet. I think I'm actually going to go this way so that I have a better judge of where I want the page to be. Okay, hopefully that's pretty even. And now we can, oh my goodness, that is so pretty. Look at that. That is so pretty. So here's a tip though. You want to still be really gentle about how you use these tabs. You will rip the page or the tab clean off if you are using this to literally open up the Quran. So you want to just gently find your finger into the pages before you open it up so that you're not putting pressure right on this tab. All right, let's do another one. Okay, you know what? I mean, that is Surah Fatiha, but I think I should have done it maybe on this page. Might have been better. Or no, I guess it's okay. No, actually, that's fine. Okay, let's do Surah Baqarah. So now, let's see. Now I want to adjust this so that I'm going to go one whole tab apart. For now, I can do one whole tab apart, and I'm not sure if that's going to be a good idea moving forward. Let's see. Okay. It's taking a minute just to make sure that it's even. Oops, I didn't bend that before. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's a little bit far apart. I guess they could have been a little bit closer. That's so pretty. Okay, let's do another one. So I think I'll put that on the side. Okay. Again, making sure I just have one sheet There might be an easier way. I feel like I'm making this a little bit more cumbersome than it should be. Okay. So pretty, so pretty. All right, I'm going to do the rest of them and then I will show you what it looks like. I just wanted to show you the card that it comes with and a really sweet message on the back. And then there were also the, oh, what a cute little paper clip. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is so clever. I love this so much. So these are little like tabs that you can add. You know what? I'm so glad that I saw that first because, oh, you know, let me tell you something. I think I should have put these a little bit closer or a little bit farther in. I put them right up to here, in my opinion, because they're sticking out even above the, here, sticking up above the edge of the book. And it might be better if they were a little bit farther down, still enough where you could read the name, but not so far up that you're bending them. Like if I'm grabbing it and I'm bending it. So for the other ones, I'm going to try to make them a little, oopsies. For the other ones, I'm either going to make them a little bit shorter or just keep them all the same, but be really mindful of it about not bending them. But I'm glad I didn't put any on the top because, which you certainly could, but I'm going to be putting these ones on the top instead. Oopsies. Let me do that more gently. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's just brilliant. I have to say one last thing. I think that, oh yeah, I forgot one more thing. I think, but I'm not actually sure. I think this goes, does it? It might be too big. So you know what? Maybe this is for something else. I will have to find out about that. Or maybe it is. Maybe it is. I'm actually not sure because it's just a little bit bigger on both sides. So I'm not sure about that. And then of course, it all fits in the bag, which is such a beautiful way to carry this to and from class. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. But I have to say that I think details like this bring joy to so many people to make your Quran personalized and make you love coming to the Quran and excited to study and memorize when you have these little details. And I would highly encourage you to consider, even if you're not getting the Qur'an Notebook, but to consider the other details, because I think that it just brings so much joy when you are working with your Qur'an, especially when it's your own, it's personalized. There are so many things that you can do in addition to this to make it really special and make it something that you look forward to. Okay, so I'm going to add the rest of the tabs. This actually took a lot longer than I expected to put all of the tabs in, but here it is with all of the Surah tabs in. And I want to share a couple of tips now that I've done this. Oh, and then along the top, I've added these tabs, and they just, if you slip them on between a couple of sheets of the paper, then it holds in place really well. Oops, there we go. So it's looking absolutely amazing. So here are a couple of tips when installing your tabs. And by the way, installing all 114 tabs took over an hour. So hopefully it doesn't take as long for you. and I have a couple of tips for you. So the first thing is I had already installed a few of them and they were too high. And even the way this is, they still stick out a little bit, but because there are so many of them, you're not bending any one. But I made them a little bit shorter as I went along, and the ones in the front are still a little bit taller. But all of these, I tucked them in so that they're just where the title or the name of the surah would be sticking out, versus the ones in the front were a little bit taller at first. However, I was able to remove them and stick them back on without any damage. But if you want to do that, or not if you want to do that, but if you end up having to do that, I recommend that you do it right away, because the longer the adhesive has the opportunity to adhere to itself and to the paper, the harder it will be to remove. But because I had just done it and then decided, and I realized that they should be shorter or more tucked in, I was able to remove them very carefully. There was a little bit of damage on one page, but very insignificant. So you can see how much lower I drop them so that they're not sticking up as much. And so this is for carrying purposes. So when you're carrying it, you're not bending them. And then when you are looking for them, if you open up the Qur'an all the way, then you can see that they cascade down really easily. And then you can start to find the surah that you need. And for the ones that are towards the front of the Quran, like Surah Baqarah, Al-Imran, the ones that have a lot of sheets, like this is, you don't want to open it this way to bend it. But if it's towards the back, then of course you're opening up with fewer sheets of paper, or fewer, there's just less. And so then it's a little bit easier to use the tab in order to open. The other thing is that, of course, in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of space between. And then starting at around Surah 7 or so, and especially by the time you get to, maybe Surah Kahf, so like about midpoint in the Quran, then you're going to have a lot more tabs. So it's a lot harder to see these right here, but these ones are a lot more spread out. Once you get through the first 6, then they're going to get stacked up very quickly. So this is what I did in order for them to be a little bit more visible. Still, it's a little bit hard to see, but just a little bit more visible, is that I was able to place 6 tabs, up to 6 tabs, before I had to repeat. But if you'll notice, the tabs, let me use these 3 rows. So I staggered the beginning of the tabs so that even though I'm lining up 6 before I start again, they're all a little bit staggered so that they're not lined up right on top of each other. Hopefully that makes it a little bit easier for you to find the surah that you want from your tab. And then as we got towards the end, in some cases, let me find a good example where we ended up having we ended up doing it a little bit out of order so that it would match up for where the surah was. So for instance here, like Surah Asr and Al-Humazah and Al-Fil are all on the same page. So I could have actually dropped Al-Fil down closer to here, but on this page I just lined them up more closely to where the surah was. And so for these ones, I wasn't going every 6 at a time before moving on, because in some cases you had 3 to a page. So these ones are not in the same order, the same pattern as the previous, several. And that was just as a consequence of having all of these surahs like so close together and having 2 and eventually 3 on one page. Okay, so I think that's everything. Oh, you know what? Let me just show you, because one other thing, I completely forgot to mention this, is that the pages are only written on the side that has the Quran. This does not, it has the same page as the side of the Quran. So let me just go to the front so I can show you how I can show you this. So for instance, page 3, page 4, page 5, you have the English on this side, like the number 5, and then you have the Arabic on this side, number 5. So it's not going to say page 5 and then page 6. Both of these are page 5, so they coordinate with the page in the Quran. I thought that was such a nice detail that I had overlooked when I had first opened it up. That way your Quranic pages match up with just an Arabic Quran. Okay, and then the last thing I want to show you, so there are a few blank ones, and my daughter had so she's already taken this Quran, which is fine, completely fine. But she had found an ayah in on page 4 that she really loved, and she had used a little yellow tab just to keep that as a marker for her. But instead, I removed the tab and I wanted to just add for her another one of these, since there are about 11 extra. And that way you can write on this, and I'll leave this blank for now. I'll let her write on it if she wants, but I'm going to just mark this for her, and that way she can easily find that particular page with the ayah that she was particularly drawn to. So I'm going to add the tab over here, and over time it became a lot easier to add the tabs in. It was a little bit more challenging at first because it takes a little while to figure out like how deep you want it, but once you get it going, it can be faster, but it still took me an hour to insert them all. So now there's an extra tab here. You can see that it's blank, and that way she can write on it either the ayah number or something about it that's special for her, and then she can just open it up and come to that ayah very quickly. So I really, really love all of the details. It really makes it like a notebook. My only thing that I want to say is that it is heavy. And so that's the only thing that you might want to consider as far as how you use this in transportation, like if you're bringing this to class versus the smaller ones. And for me, I really like the size of the smaller ones as far as portability and manageability of using it. But what I loved about this too is just the ease of having, of course, all your notes and the whole Quran in one place, so that if you are in a class and you are going back and forth, shifting from one ayah or one surah to another, then having everything in one place and all of your notes in one place is really great. So now, my other suggestion that I would love, love, love to see is insert post-its that are the exact size of the Quran, so that you could have like a stack of post-its, and it would be the kind that wouldn't be the full back sticky ones, which are my preference. I love those the most, but the ones that just have a little bit of sticky at the top, but they are exactly the size of this insert or this notebook, so that the inserts could just be layered on top, because I know that I will need more than this space once I really dive into the tafsir of a particular surah. And so having those little post-its that you could just keep along with like your pens, your color pencils, your highlighters, whatever it is, a stack of post-its that you could include. I think that would just make it absolutely fabulous. So I think that's it. I love it so much. I'm pretty sure my daughter is going to take this from me, which I'm completely fine about, because I would love for her to have something that she feels really drawn to, that she really loves, that has all of these additional details that really make you love the process of diving into the Quran and learning more and memorizing and learning the meaning and the tafsir and everything that goes along with it. I hope that you enjoyed this unboxing. Don't forget to check out the blog post that has all of my Quran journaling, where you can see me using the Quran journal in action. You can find the link to that blog post in the description box below. You can also find links to all of these products and the website in the description box below, as well as on the website and the playlist for the Quran journaling that I did on Surah Kahf. And if you'd like to see how we're Quran journaling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok at Pepper and Pine.